Hello and welcome to Whiskey Resource. My name is Mark. This is review number 92, and today I'm going to be doing a review of a sample that was kindly supplied to me by Nick Gascoigne. He has a Twitter account and Instagram, and if you know Nick, he's a really nice chap. So earlier in the summer he sent me some drams. Really generous he was too. I've got some corking samples that I sent to me that I'm going to be reviewing in due course. But in conversation with him, I said, send us a bourbon that you recommend. So that's what we'll be reviewing today, is the bourbon that he sent me. And to be honest, I'm really looking forward to this one. It is Knob Creek. It's a small batch Kentucky straight bourbon. It is part of the Jim Beam company, so Beam Suntory. There we go, there's the little tag that he's put on there. Bottled at 50% ABV, and because it's a bourbon, it is a natural colour, and look at that colour. That's what you get from the newly labelled bottles. Say it's 9-year-old. Previously they didn't put an age statement on, but the new bottling, they say it's 9-year-old, so that's what we're going with, 9-year-old. We don't know about the chill filtration status of this, unfortunately. Now that's actually quite disappointing for this particular bottle. Because whilst I'm not going to say what the value score is, you can go online into the review, which you can see down in the description, to find out how this does for value score. Suffice to say that had this have had a chill filtration status, this would have been possibly the best value whiskey available, because it has an average retail price of £31.61 for 50% alcohol 9-year-old bourbon. That for bourbons is a cracking value drink, really is a cracking value. A few more stats about this. It is made up with a mash bill of 75% corn, 13% rye and 12% barley, and it's been in barrels with a char level 4, which is considerably high, which helps that colour. So I'll be looking forward to this one, because on paper, with those stats, it's got some cracking stats going there. Now I have reviewed a few bourbons which have been between 40-45%, and the highest one to date was the From the Barrel Blantons, which was in the high 60s, and that was too strong for a bourbon. For Scotch, that's fine. I can handle a Scotch that strength, because there's lots of depth of flavours going on in Scotches, and you can explore it. I find bourbons, they've got two quite strong notes, a couple of medium notes, maybe one really weak note going on with them. They tend to be very limited. Whilst they're still enjoyable, it tends to be the mash bills that affect bourbons quite a bit. So this one, being 50% ABV with an interesting higher rye content, not as high as it could be, because for it to be a bourbon it has to be minimum 51% corn. There's 49% of other things that can play with there, so for 13% rye, in terms of other bourbons, that's quite high, but it could be higher. But anyway, enough of that. We're going straight onto the nosing and tasting, and see what Knob Creek small batch is like. So on the nose, straight away, without bringing it near me face, I can get those strong oaky influences straight away. But yeah, that's a classic bourbon nose. So I like while it's oak, for my mind, one of the stronger oak notes that I like to get, or I tend to get, is maple. I know Jack Daniels is maple filtered, but this is like, for me, it's a maple syrup that I'm getting. It's more of a fruity wood rather than a dry bitter wood. So it's a fruity, I like to call maple, as I say, oak. With lots of vanilla and caramel, but it is fruity. And that maple does bring out a bit of fruitiness on the nose. Probably goes fast to say is that caramel's more of a butter toffee than a caramel. can tell this is going to have a little bit of spice on the nose, on the palate rather, because it does come across as being spicy. That's actually a really nice nose. I'm enjoying this. Bit more going on there on the palate. So we'll start with the texture. It's silky, very oily, mouth coating, completely mouth coating, and the alcohol makes itself known. It's bearable, very bearable actually, but it's there and it's just reminding you that actually I'm 50%. So take your time, because if you rush it, that will bite you. It will bite you. Lots of oak. The finish is bitter, but very drying and very oaky. And it's still going on. That finish is still going on. A little bit of fruitiness popping up here and then, but yeah, it's more of a fruity oak finish, but it is bitter and drying. Touch of chocolate going on there. Let's have another try. So the fruits I'm getting, and I got a little bit on the first time, it's a bit more pronounced now. Apple. I'm getting bits of apple. More like a stewed cooking apple with some, I'm going to say, condensed milk that's been, I don't know how they do it, but the condensed milk has been, I think it's heated in the can, boiled in the can, and it turns into a caramel. So that, I'm getting that condensed milk, caramelly, buttery, apple. And with that, cinnamon. I'm getting the spice of cinnamon and bits of dark chocolate, and that bitter oak finish. This is a very nice dram. Adding water has made it more bitter. It's increased that oiliness in the mouth. It's made it quite tart. It's quite cloying, quite chewy. It's actually got a rather artificial, like, saccharine bitterness to it now with the water. It'd be interesting to see if that changes again as those oils get released, because I think that oil getting released is probably what's caused that. I'll put a bit more water in there. The nose is getting more accented bourbon notes of vanilla and caramel, and oh, that's an interesting nose. Now, varnish. I'm getting varnish now. I mean wood varnish, not nail varnish, wood varnish. And rye. That rye showing up very much so. Yeah, there's rye popping out of this now with that bit more water. I'm not seeing any. I'm not going to call it Scotch mist because this isn't a Scotch, but I'm not really getting any mist forming in that at all. And I probably put enough water in to drop it below, definitely below 46, which would suggest maybe this is chill filtered, or it's had a bit more of an intensive filter to it. I like this. I think for the price and the age and the ABV, I could consider buying this. The question is it better than Jim Beam Devil's Cut, which I believe is my top rated bourbon so far? Well, that's a difficult one because the Devil's Cut is a good £6 or £7 cheaper than this, and that's it's a 45% ABV. I prefer it au natural. I prefer it without any water in it. It spoils it, I think, putting that water in. It tames it too much. It's going to be wanting to experiment with the water. Pitching level between 45 and 50%, I think. The 50 is great. It is. It probably can get away without water. But I would definitely buy a bottle. Definitely. Well, that's it. Thank you very much to Nick Ascoyne for sending me this sample of Knob Creek. It's I think it's fair to say it's going to be the number one bourbon, but we'll see if you read the review. There it is.